What's up, everybody on YouTube? This is Salim. In this video here, we'll be addressing, well, this is my first time addressing it, the controversy between Jason Black and Tommy Sotomayor. Now, I think this controversy was all started through gossip. Somebody done said something about somebody else, and then somebody done passed it over to this person, and that person heard about it, then this person said something to that person, and then the next thing you know, these two guys are at war. See, that's what happens when you gossip. When you gossip, it creates controversy, and then it leads to fights. And this is what happened between Mr. Black and Mr. Sotomayor. They all became entangled within a fight because of somebody spreading gossip. Now, this is not a case of taking sides, because I would have to admit that both men, Mr. Sotomayor and Mr. Black, both of these men have made some good points at times. Tommy definitely had made some good points. Mr. Jason Black has also made some good points. So, you know what I mean? But as they were going at it through the videos and stuff like that, I was just listening to both points that were being made by both individuals. I listened to some of Tommy's points, and then I listened to some of Jason's points. You know, because, you know, both of these men make good points, and I had to, you know, listen to it and make my own evaluation of the points that were being made. And of course, you know, whenever somebody makes a point about something or says something, I would have to look it up, go to Google or something, you know, try to do a little bit of research as to what's being said about one person, what's being said about the other person. But the thing is that I personally believe that these two men should no longer be at war. They should not be at war. In fact, they never should have been at war in the first place. I wish this beef had never started. I wish it had never started. Because Mr. Sotomayor and Mr. Black, they've always been good friends. They've always been, you know, buddies. And now they've been torn apart because of somebody said he say, she say, bull stuff. And now all of a sudden, these two men are no longer associating with each other. Jason Black won't call the show no more. Tommy Sotomayor won't call Jason's show. And, you know, these two guys just won't speak. But I would hope that at some point in the future that these two men will link together, at least get on the phone or at least get on a broadcast and at least talk to each other about what's going on. Because when Melissa was under the spotlight, when Melissa Speaks was under the spotlight about her comments in regards to quote-unquote not being black and her support of George Zimmerman being acquitted of murder, she was finally able to come up and respond to that in her own video and also on Jason Black's broadcast. Now, she was able to come out and speak about that. Now, I would like to see Mr. Sotomayor and Mr. Black get together on a broadcast and speak about this thing. They're probably both believing, oh, well, there's nothing to talk about. They're probably believing, oh, we can't say nothing to each other because it'll just make things worse. Well, when it comes to two men who make good points or who've made good points, I think being able to discuss this on a logical standpoint is possible. Because Tommy Sotomayor speaks with logic and so does Jason Black. So, I'm thinking, if two men are speaking with logic, who speak with logic, are able to, you know, make good points about certain things, why can't they come together and make their good points about what's going on with this online gossip? Gossip tears apart people because people misconstrue what's being said in the gossip. And usually this leads to arguments and fights. This is why I don't like gossip. Oh, Jason said this. Oh, Tommy said that. And then you saying it behind the person's back. Now I called in on Jason's broadcast on March the 10th, which was one day after the other incident on his March 9th show. Now, I didn't find out about that incident until the time, or should I say the day after the day I called this broadcast. But as I was speaking with Mr. Black on his broadcast, he did give me some pretty good insight. And I must say, you know, that advice that he was giving me was something that I could definitely benefit from. So I know that Jason Black does give good points. But also, Mr. Sotomayor also gives good points. Because I know that both men use logic. And I think that if both of these men will continue to use logic, perhaps they will find some way to squash this beef. I would like it if they can both find a way to squash it once and for all. Because I don't like to see this controversy, and I wish it had never started. These two guys were close, just like Mr. Sotomayor indicated in one of his videos that he loved Jason like a brother. Well, you know, I would hope that brotherly love would sometime would somehow come back. But I would think that the only way that this thing could be truly settled is if both Mr. Sotomayor and Mr. Black talk directly to each other. Because making these videos about one person and making the videos about another person you're not really accomplishing anything. I think talking directly to the person would be the best idea in order for things to get settled. It's just that both guys got to be willing to speak to each other. That's the only way it can be done. If both guys are not willing to speak to each other, then, you know, I guess the beef can't be squashed. I mean, I would like to see the beef get squashed. Personally, I would like to see it get squashed. I would like to see these two guys become buddies again, because both, like I said before, both men have made good points. Now, there may be a couple of things that may have not added up between what Mr. Sotomayor said or what Mr. Black said, but overall, I think they've made good points. And that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the overall factor. I'm looking at the bigger picture between these two guys. I'm looking at the bigger picture. And it's been indicated to me that in the bigger picture, both men have made good points. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. There was a point in time where both Dr. King and Malcolm X didn't agree with each other. There was one time where Malcolm X considered Martin Luther King an Uncle Tom. But Martin Luther King and Malcolm X both had one common objective, and that is to go against racism in the 60s. That was to go against white supremacy. That was the objective of both Dr. King and Malcolm X, even though they both used different methods of going against it. There was a point in time where Malcolm X didn't like Dr. King. There was a point in time where Malcolm X didn't agree with Dr. King. There was a point in time where Dr. King felt as though that his method was better than Malcolm X's, and, you know, so on and so forth. And it seems to me that what's going on between Mr. Black and Mr. Sotomayor is a little bit similar to that. But I also noticed that Dr. King and Malcolm X, they made up at one point. You know, like that picture that they took back in 1964 or 63 or whatever that was, with Dr. King and Malcolm X shaking hands. Yeah, they finally came together and came to a consensus about everything. Even though at one point in time they did not agree with their methods. But they both had one common objective. They wanted to make sure that black people are continued to be treated fairly. They want to make sure that black people are treated fairly. Dr. King wanted to do that, and Malcolm X wanted to do that. He wanted to make sure that black people had fairness, fairness in treating, what I'm saying, and to not be overruled by white supremacy. That was the whole objective of both Dr. King and Malcolm X, even though they had different methods of attacking the issue. Martin Luther King wanted to do a nonviolent thing, but Malcolm X wanted to do, if you're being attacked, I'm going to defend myself using violence. But the thing is that both men stood against it. They stood against the nonsense of white supremacy. That was their objective. So this beef seems to be a little similar to what Malcolm X and Dr. King went through back in the 60s. What Mr. Sotomayor and Jason Black are now doing today. And I think that just like Dr. King and Malcolm X did, if Mr. Sotomayor and Jason Black got together and spoke one-on-one, spoke directly to each other, rather than making videos about each other, maybe these two men who have made logical points on many occasions could finally come to a consensus, just like Dr. King and Malcolm X did. Well, this is your boy Salim. I'm signing out. Peace out.